Welcome, everybody, to Southern Cross Alliance for Israel August meeting. Great to see you from all over the country, from the top of the north, from Cairns, down to where I am at the southern tip of Tasmania. Wonderful to see East, West, and of course our cousins, brothers and sisters over in New Zealand. Alison, I see you there, and a few others, etc., that join us on a regular basis. And it's great to have our special guests tonight, Donna and Dr Sheree Trotter, with us, who we will introduce more formally as we go on. But it's been a big month, as usual. Every month is a big month as we move forward, and I'm not going to explain any of that, but we're going to leave it to some of our guests to share some of the stories that are happening right now in Israel. We won't be joined by our rabbi tonight, who suddenly, I think, has been taken to Thailand for reasons we don't know. So we're about to find out next week when he gets back. But I'm joined by co-host Stephen Green, who is going to introduce Donna and a few others. But before we get on to that, the rabbi usually starts with stories. We're not doing that tonight. I'm going to, for a change, introduce a new member of our committee, Pam Coulpit from Brisbane. And to introduce her, I'm going to ask Joy Halen, our existing committee member, and who's been there from the start. And at some stage or another, she will still be there, but not as active as she has been. And Pam is going to step into her shoes, if that is possible. Joy, please unmute and welcome Pam.
Okay, yes, has it been about 4 or 5 years, John, that we've been going, starting with Peter Kentley, Nations Bless Israel? Yes, and I'm just feeling it's time to hang up the stirrups, I said. And Pam has very kindly offered to come onto the planning committee. She's also taken over being representative for the residents in Judea, Samaria. She's also been a leading organiser of the recent Nain event in Queensland, and her credentials go on. And actually watch out for an event coming up October the 5th. I think we can announce that date, Pam, can't we? But she'll let you know more. So I'll just hand over to you, Pam, to say hello.
Thank you so much, Joy. Hello, everybody. I know a lot of faces here, and I'm privileged to come onto the SCAFI team. I couldn't even imagine this dream 12 months ago. So, and yes, we're planning an event in Brisbane for October 5. So Christians in Brisbane, we're going to honour October 7 on October 5 on the Saturday night. So I will be publishing that very soon. And the Never Again team is gathering in Canberra on October 7. They're preparing a memorial event, a different atmosphere, tender and respectful. We hope that the nation will stand together, remembering the terror of October 7, 2023, and comfort his people by showing love and unity. Yeah. We're asking senators and members of parliament to stand with us, aligning with the Judeo-Christian values and standing against anti-Semitism. So if you're in Canberra, come along October 7 from 1 p.m. Stand with the Jewish community and show them love on the anniversary of what was just horrible. And yes, that's what we're going to be doing in Brisbane too. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you. That's great. And just to let everybody know, and we will send it out by email, SCAFI is standing side by side with NAIN and Mark Leach and all the board members of Never Again Is Now, and we will be there in Canberra supporting the rally that will take place in front of Parliament House on that day. Stephen's got the slide there, which is fantastic, and we'll be sending that out on our emails and inviting you all to join us. Looks like we might be going to Brisbane first on October the 5th, and then up to back down to Canberra on October the 7th, where we will all meet together. So plenty of news that is happening. I may bring you up to date with some of the other things that are taking place, but at this stage, I'm going to hand across to Stephen Green, who's co-hosting tonight in place of the rabbi. Over to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much. When we got wind that the rabbi was gone, not going to be here, I tried to grow my beard, but I ran out of time. He only gave me half a day's notice, so we'll see how we go tomorrow. Friends, it's a really busy time. There is so much going on. Things are moving exceptionally quickly, both in Israel and certainly here. Every day we read of developments, be they at university campuses, with ridiculous resolutions being passed politically, and on the big stage as well with the ICC and the United Nations and etc. Just to give you a little glimpse into my world, this past week or so, by day, a mild-mannered travel agent sending people and Christians all over the world. Yes, we still get lots of inquiries and people wanting to go to Israel, which is so encouraging and heartening that people want to go and serve and bear witness and listen to people. And there are still ways to get in and to get out. But the one thing I wanted to share with you, I guess, was a talk I went to on Friday afternoon just before Shabbat started at Turak Synagogue, and the guest there to speak to young adults. I don't know, I didn't really crack the young adult list, but I snuck in, was to listen to Nate Buzz. And those that are connected to social media or anything to do with Israel will have heard of this incredible human being called Nate Buzz. An Australian-born guy, had a dream to make it to Hollywood and become famous and be on screen. And he certainly did that, rose to fame and stardom for his role in The Vampire Diaries, and loved the role and the lifestyle and the wealth. But as he explained to these young adults, it was just hollow aspirations. He got there and he needed more. So he actually volunteered to do some humanitarian aid and found himself in Iraq, I think back in the early 90s, kind of Gulf War time. Probably a bit later than that because he's only 41 now. But he got introduced by that to religion. He grew up totally irreligious in Australia and started reading the Quran and later the Torah and the Tanakh. And he got led to Israel, where everything just kind of made sense to him. He was feeling pretty low and what was the purpose, what was the meaning of life, and he read this incredible book from start to finish in 2 weeks, and has continued reading it and learning all 5 books and the commentaries as well of the Torah, and understands this incredible relationship that God has with the Jewish people and the place that Israel has in the world. And with his incredibly huge social media profile and being an influencer with reach to over 3 million young people around the world, is posting the truth and messages and snippets that they will understand and they will appreciate. So he's risen to absolute stardom in Israel by the locals there. He was actually asked to light the torch on Yom Ha'atzmaut last year as an honor bestowed normally to Israelis. He's the first non-Israeli that the president himself asked to do this. So it was an honor to meet him and to hear what he said. But the takeaway and what he advised these young Jewish adults in the audience as the future generation was the fact that as Jews, we've never really done outreach and marketing because we never really have to. We just get on with our business and our traditions. And as he termed us, he said, us Jews are the minority of minorities. But what we have is something incredibly special, and the bond and the connection with God and this land that we love and we call Israel is inseparable. And now that the haters have risen and are telling the world that we are people that we don't think we are, we have to know our own story, we have to know our own book, and we have to stop being complacent and comfortable. So it's a really good wake-up call, I think, to all of us, especially those in the Jewish community that thought that scenes and events like we're seeing would never and could never happen. So yes, we have to go back to the source and get to know the text and rekindle our amazing relationship with God. So that was the Nate Buzz takeaway. And then Shabbat came in, and it was a really beautiful, uplifting Shabbat that I certainly experienced. Friends, enough about me, and I was asked to introduce our first guest, who's no stranger to SCAFI and certainly no stranger to me or to Israel and her love and support of the Jewish people. And I speak, of course, of Donna Ho. Donna is a Torah scholar, and she's also a film director. We know she's traveled extensively around the world, and she's actually made 16 trips to Israel, filming both in Israel and in Australia. She's also a counsellor and counsels people from different cultures and nationalities. She founded a charity called the Association of China, Israel and Australia Friendship and Culture, or TACIA in short. TACIA promotes dialogue through film culture and to build bridges of friendship through the use of film and media. The Unsung Heroes series is one of TACIA's long-standing projects to start conversations and to remember heroes who have demonstrated what altruistic love is, also described as Ahavat Hinam in Hebrew. These people that feature in the films have done heroic feats that would be amazing to the world if only their stories were more widely told. So Donna, over to you. Take it away. Unmute yourself first, please.
Yes, Toda, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much, SCAFI. Thank you so much, everyone. And my name is Donna, one of the founder of TACIA. TACIA is a charity, and TACIA's purpose is to use film and art to promote friendship culture across nation. This presentation is made possible through donations. We ask that everyone continue support because we want to make more of beautiful contents and stories presented to people that not yet heard about, not just unsung hero, but also true stories. You might have heard a musical called Hamilton. One of the songs is called Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story. This song has the following lyric: when you're gone, who remember your name? who keeps your flame, who tells your story. Well, I would like to add one more line, who sing your songs. People want their life to have a purpose and meaning. No one wants to live their life in vain. We want to be known for our deed and to leave a legacy. Those unsung heroes stood up to protect the vulnerable in the darkest hour of modern history. They gained no profit. In fact, they risked all to do so. They were not thinking whether later generation remember that what they did. So we want to remember their names and their story. We want to keep their flame. We want to sing their songs. So they will no longer be unsung heroes. Tonight, we are sharing Tasha's third story in our Unsung Heroes series. Her name is Joyce Locke. She was born in 1887 in England, Queensland. Joyce saved countless lives of war victims in Poland, Greece, Serbia, Romania, in World War II and World War I and World War II. She is Australia's most decorated woman, but very, very few people know of her. Let's begin to change that tonight. If you have any questions or comment during the presentation, please ask at the end of the presentation. Okay, thank you. Now, please sit back and enjoy. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is the third series of the Unsung Hero. And if you go to our website and to look at it, we have others as well. And in September this year, we will also launch our documentary film that we filmed in Australia, China, and of course in Israel. So thank you so much for tonight. And also SCAFI invited us to share another top unsung hero, which is our older William Cooper in October 22nd. If you're able to mark that date, we welcome you to join and we will share William Cooper's story. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Donna. I didn't know that story. I'm sure many others didn't know that story as well.
Yes.
And we need to get that out to as many people as we can. And so, you know, we invite people, just put your website up on the chat, which would be great.
Yep.
And then we will add it to, and I'm quite happy to share those videos on my sites, and eventually we'll have Israel allies being able to share those stories as well. So thank you. And there will be a time for questions and answers as we finish off tonight. But for the minute, we just want to say thank you, and we want to introduce our very special guest, Dr. Sheree Trotter. As she comes on, please unmute yourself. I'm just going to call you Sheree, if that's okay. I actually haven't met Sheree. All the people I know in New Zealand, we haven't come across each other. And it was just by chance that I usually sit in on a Wednesday night with the AJA, the Australian Jewish Association, and listen to their guests. And I always want to be there as a Christian friend of the Jewish people, and particularly, you know, align with Dr. David Adler and many of his board members, and supported them from their start. And a month or so ago, Sheree was their guest speaker, and I was amazed with her story of the actual start and framing of Indigenous embassy in Israel, and heard a bit about her story as a Maori leader and a Christian, and then found out she was good friends with Barbara and Norman Miller, who are very good friends of ours, as well as many other of our Indigenous friends that may be on tonight, who may not be. And I also have a lot of contacts, like Nigel Woodley, pastor, and many of the supporters of Israel in New Zealand, who are few, but we stick together. So it's a welcome to you, Dr. Sheree Trotter. Please share the story with our friends and whatever you have to say. So we will have a time when you finish for Q&A as well. So over to you.
Thank you, and greetings, everyone. It's wonderful to be with you all here tonight. And so I will just share a little bit about our work and what we've been doing. My husband and I have been involved with the Jewish community. We are Christians. We've been involved with the Jewish community and issues around Israel for about 30 years now. And we've done a number of different things, from hosting Israeli travelers in our country to a Holocaust project where we have interviewed and photographed 70 Holocaust survivors and created stories and exhibitions from those stories. And I went back to, after raising 4 children, I went back to university in 2014 and pursued my postgraduate studies and did a PhD in Zionism on New Zealand up to 1948. And it was around the same time, around 2014, the Gaza war, that I really started to get quite involved with Israel advocacy in our country with many other members of the community. And I noticed Joanna Moss is here tonight. Hi, Joanna. Joanna's another one who's very involved, along with Nigel Woodley, who you've mentioned. Joanna Moss is part of Friends of Israel in New Zealand. And so we have a group, and we all work very hard, members of the Israel and the Jewish and Christian communities. We work together around advocacy, probably similar to your country. We're constantly battling what's coming out in the media, what our government is doing. And so it keeps us all very busy. We're just a small team. But in particular, I began to be concerned about the way the narrative was being framed. As an Indigenous person, being Māori, I began to be concerned about the way the narrative was being framed. And one key event that happened was when one of our Māori politicians went to Gaza in about 2016 as an Indigenous woman to stand with the Indigenous women of Gaza. And for me, as a Christian and understanding what the scriptures say, I will bless those who bless you, whoever curses you, I will curse, and other things. I really felt that this was not good for our people, for our Māori people, our Indigenous people, to be really standing against Israel. And so I began to think about this, and what we find, and I think it's probably similar in Australia as well, is that the pro-Palestinian voice amongst our Indigenous people, amongst our Māori people, tends to dominate. They're our political party. We have a Māori party. They've been really at the forefront since 7th of October in pushing the Palestinian message. And so even back in 2016, as I saw this happening, I began thinking about how do we deal with this, and connecting with other Māori people to think, to discuss, to talk. And so what I did after I'd finished my thesis was I set up the Indigenous Coalition for Israel in 2021. And that was to provide a platform for Indigenous voices in New Zealand to be able to speak back, basically, to be able to, in a public way, stand up and speak up for Israel. So the thing is that even though some of the dominant voices in our media and in politics were very anti-Israel, that didn't reflect the total Māori position, or the position of all Māori people. And I just want to show you, if I can, a video of a Māori, we call him a kaumatua, and that means an elder of a tribe, one of our northern tribes. And he was a key figure in really standing with Israel, and he told a beautiful story. And I know you've got the beautiful story of William Cooper, who stood with Israel. But after World War II, his people wanted to give land for the Jewish refugees, and they went down to Parliament, to government, to present this proposal that they wanted to put aside some land for Jewish refugees. And the government basically said to them, just go back to your hovels, don't worry, we'll sort it out. The government did take the land, but they didn't give it to the Jewish refugees. They gave it to others. And this was a story that he had carried with him, and his people had stood strongly with the Jewish people. And so he has been a key figure. He's sadly passed away now, but he was a key figure in developing the relationship with Israel through the ambassadors that have come. And what I want to try and show you, if I can, is a video of a particular event. So, which I think really expresses the love that many Māori have for Israel. So I hope the sound is going to work here. And I hope our internet is going to work.
What are we doing? Genesis 12 said, if we want to be blessed, to bless his children, the children of promise and the children of light. Being accepted and in a way embraced by the Napuhi, the guardians of the land. And here with this beautiful tree we brought, and the exchange of trees that will be planted on the sacred land of Waitangi in the same week with Earth Day, the olive tree for Israelis, for Middle Easterners, symbolizes peace. And so was the saying of old, no matter how great a storm, the strong winds, the kauri tree may bend, but it will never break. Speaking today of the relationship between the nation of Lapui, the house, and the sacred house of Israel, the Jewish nation. You know, I'm only a part of the fabric, the twine, the weave of what God is doing for our town. I am nothing more, nothing less, just part of the weave that holds this whole mat together, this whole party together.
And so that's a little, I guess it's a taste of the love that there is within Māori communities, some Māori communities towards Israel. And what we're doing with our work is tapping into that. There's a lot of work for us to do in educating our people and in dealing with the narrative, the false narrative. And So part of what we wanted to do was set up an Indigenous embassy in Jerusalem to provide an international platform for this connection to take place. And the journey towards that happened actually quite quickly. My part of this journey, I guess you could say, I found out that there was a much larger journey behind it. But a year ago, I had the opportunity to meet with Deputy Mayor Fleur Hassan Nahum, and I presented to her this idea of an Indigenous embassy as a way of showing Indigenous support for Jews as the Indigenous people of the land, that we as Jewish people could come alongside and show them that we recognised them as the Indigenous people of the land. And Fleur really embraced that vision and supported us and helped to open the way for us to open an embassy. And so we had an event, an opening event in February. It all happened very quickly. And I'm just now going to show you just a brief video of that opening event. Where did it go? Just bear with me a minute. Oh, we must have to go back to there, I think. I'll just go back to that one, and here we go. Here we are.
1, 2,
Jerusalem Deputy Mayor Fleur Hassan Nahum played a key role in establishing the embassy.
When I was approached by the Indigenous Coalition for Israel about a year ago about their dream to open an embassy in Jerusalem, I couldn't think of a better expression, and this was before the war.
The coalition chose the Friends of Zion Museum as its home.
They're coming from all the different cultures, and guess who's leading the way? The evangelicals. It's the evangelical Indigenous leaders that are coming in from all over the world to represent their groups, and they'll be the ambassadors for this Indigenous embassy.
So we stand here with you today in your eternal city and declare that as Indigenous peoples, we recognize that Jews are the Indigenous people of this land, and we stand with you in your struggle.
Dr. Sheree Trotter, co-founder of New Zealand's Holocaust and Anti-Semitism Foundation, established the Indigenous Coalition for Israel.
I set it up as to provide a platform for Indigenous peoples to stand in support of Israel, because I recognize that in my own country, the anti-Israel voices amongst our Indigenous people were very loud and dominating the narrative. And I just felt that we needed a way to push back on that and to show that there are a lot of Indigenous people who stand with Israel.
Trotter says October 7th led to a wave of accusations against Israel.
Almost immediately, we were hearing, it's like a placard, 75 years of colonialist oppression, as if that's some sort of a reason for Hamas to attack Israel. So how do we counter that? Well, we have to retell the story. We have to educate. We have to get the truth out there.
Trotter says the truth is the Jews have decolonized the land. That means they came back to their original homeland.
Our message tonight was, first of all, we love Israel. Most of the people of South Africa love Israel and the Jews.
Members of South Africa's Khoi Messianic tribe signed a covenant with Israel last year after their government charged Israel with genocide at the International Court of Justice. Tribe members offered an apology.
We are totally disappointed and horrified by the actions of the ANC government with their case against Israel. Unfounded, it does not have any factual basis. And we say to the people of Israel, we apologize for what our government did.
These groups see the Jews as the original indigenous people.
That's why God using our Indigenous people to come and support the Jews.
We are coming alongside of them as one new man, grafted in, and just being amazed what the Lord has done through the people of Israel, the covenant people of the land.
Dr. Ate Mwala came to represent the South Pacific Kingdom of Tonga.
We not only pray, but we come to stand with the indigenous people of Israel, the Jewish people, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
They also wanted to show their support of Israel in one of its darkest hours.
Today, more than ever, after October 7th, and after the persistent delegitimization of Israel and the Jewish people by detractors who want people to think that we are colonizers in our own land, instead of the truth, which is that we are the biggest decolonization project in history. This is a way to show the world that Indigenous people connect with other Indigenous people.
Prayer leader Rick Riding sees this as more than a ceremony or celebration.
I feel it was a birthing. There have been a lot of people for a long time who have realized that the Indigenous people had a key role to play in God's purposes for Israel, because he said in the scriptures, from the ends of the earth, they were to proclaim the Lord's sovereignty and care for Israel. And so they're here, they're proclaiming it. So he's birthing something new for the Indigenous people at the same time that he's using them to comfort Israel and to deal with the whole lie that the Jewish people are not the Indigenous people of the land. As you heard tonight, one after another got up there and so clearly said, we are, no one can be more Indigenous than the Jewish people are.
Many believe the opening represents the Bible coming to life.
You know, the word of the Lord says, you know, that from the ends of the earth we hear singing, glory to the righteous one. And from the rising of the sun to its setting, his name will be praised.
May this embassy be a forerunner for the day that all tribes and nations will come up to Jerusalem.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Friends of Zion Museum, Jerusalem.
So, as you can see, that turned into quite a celebration, and that was actually really unexpected and unintended. It was a formal event, but when they had a band there, when the music started playing, of course, Indigenous people got up and danced, because that's what you do with good music. And as we got up and danced, then everybody else in the audience, just, you know, the politicians, the rabbis, the diplomats, they all came and joined in. And I think at that time, they really needed that sort of uplift, because they'd been through and still going through such trauma, and to have the Indigenous peoples come and stand with them and support them, I think meant so much to them. So we just had this amazing opening event, and in one sense now the real work begins. And I know I'm showing you a lot of material, but in some ways the photos and the videos, you know, express so much. We've just had the opportunity, I'm conscious of the time as well, so I'll show you one more thing, is that we had the opportunity, we were invited to go to America by Grand Chief Linda Prince. And I will bring this up as I'm talking to you. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, talking to myself here. You are screen sharing. Yeah. So I don't know how to change it to, but I'll just show you the whole thing here. You'll see photos here of, this was our photos from our trip to North America. And in the bottom left here, we have in the middle Grand Chief Linda Prince. Now, the fascinating thing for us to learn about was that she went to the Knesset in 1999 with a group of 100 Native American chiefs. And one of the things they did was they asked for an embassy in 1999. That was 25 years ago. And in this photo, I hope you can see the cursor here, all of these people in this photo were there in 1999 at that meeting at the Knesset. So it was just wonderful to see, to have for Grand Chief Linda to gather these people who had carried this dream in their hearts for so long. So when they heard about the opening of the embassy, and Grand Chief Linda couldn't come because she wasn't well enough, she was so excited that she invited us to come over and to celebrate together, to endorse our leadership. And she's been appointed as an envoy for North America. And for us, it was wonderful to be able to celebrate together with them. And what we were able to do over there is help to the embassy provided a mechanism to begin to connect together the Indigenous and the Jewish communities over there in Canada. We were able to join in this march, this Israel march, 50,000 people at this march in Toronto, and they wanted us at the front. And it was just a privilege and a joy. And, you know, people came up to us with tears in their eyes and just thanked us for being there. This was in Vancouver, where we met with Jewish leaders, and of course they just had a bombing of their synagogues, so we made a statement showing our support. Linda, as the envoy, made a statement, and again the embassy was able to do this. This was another meeting that we had in Toronto at the consulate there, bringing together Indigenous leaders with Jewish leaders, and this was a first. You know, this had never happened before. They called it a powwow. And the relationships have continued, and this is part of what the embassy is all about. And just to briefly give you a picture of what we're going to be trying to do with the embassy, we recognize that academia is so important to get into academia in order to begin to change the narrative. And we'll do cultural events, international exchanges, work in the arts, media, and story production. So we've got a lot of projects, but the exciting thing, and this will be my last share, I promise, but the exciting thing is that we have planned, oh no, not that one, back to this one. We are planning for events to happen in October. No, that's not working. Okay, I'll stop that one. So we're planning for events to happen at the end of October. And one of the events that we've just locked in is an academic symposium. And I'm really excited about the people that we have on board for that, because we have some amazing scholars coming to this symposium. We have Dr. Isabella Taborowski, who's going to be talking about the denial of Jewish peoplehood and Jewish connection to the land of Israel in late Soviet propaganda. We've got Professor Ilan Troen, who's going to be talking about the use of settler colonialism to deny Jewish indigeneity in the Holy Land. We really see the importance of building a body of work within academia to provide material for people to be able to call on, to speak back, you know, to talk back to the false narratives that we're hearing in academia. And so we're very excited about that. That's happening at the end of October, and we'll have a range of activities. We'll have a solidarity march of the Indigenous peoples on the 28th, with an opening event. We're having an academic symposium, a business innovation event, and an advocacy event as well. So we're all very busy at the moment, just working towards that. And so that is a brief overview of what we've been doing with the Indigenous Embassy Jerusalem. And yeah, we just invite you to follow us. Indigenous Embassy Jerusalem is the website, to support us if you feel that you want to do that, to jump on board this waka, as we say. Waka is a canoe. Jump on board our canoe and travel with us. We would just love to have you come on board and get involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheree. Oh, it's just wonderful. We're just so pleased to touch base with you and to connect with you and what you're doing. I'm going to open up for questions in a minute. If you want to ask a question, please use the reactions button, raise your hand, and you can either ask Dr. Sheree or Donna anything that comes to mind. But Sheree, I was, just amazed at the connectiveness of what you're doing and what some of the things that we've been involved with, for instance, that you wouldn't know about. We were part of the signing of a document that was led by David and Deborah Harding here in Australia, of 67 tribes of the North Indigenous Aboriginal people aligning to the nation of Israel. And in 2019, just before COVID, we managed to get that signed bark statement across to Israel. And it now sits above the President Herzog's desk in the President's office. And I just look at, how our Indigenous friends here in the north, here in Australia, and of course in New Zealand and across the world, we need to connect with each other, and we need to stand with each other. So I invite everybody to follow your website, and if they feel to give, then give, which we will be also wanting to do and aligning with you in the journey to come. Thank you to our New Zealand followers, Joanna, Gail, I see there, Alison, I see there, staying up till, what time is it there? Nearly 10 or 11 o'clock.
11.
Yeah, a little bit late. So please, if you've got a question, please raise your hand, and we'll open it up for the last 10 minutes or so to give you the opportunity to make a statement or to say hello or to, just ask a question. Who would like to go first? Don't all jump at once. There's Gail.
I'd like to ask for the first speaker, Donna, if the book is available on the life of Joyce. I noticed that it was published many years ago, over 50, I think. Is there original copies still?
Yes. Actually, how I found it was that I'm the one that doing a lot of research for our film productions to do scripts and things like that. So I read a book, and it's talking about all the heroes of Australian women during the wars, and just the last page and the index, there's a line and said, this lady's most decorated woman, Joyce Locke. And I'm thinking, what? Where's the story? So I found one of the books, one of the books here, and then her original book, as well. And you can see it's a very old one, but I suppose you can still find it, her own books, The Fringe of Blue, and she published in 1968. Yes, if you want some detail, just send me a note, and I will send you some details, see whether you can still buy them. Yes.
Oh, many thanks. And also important testimony. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for doing the research, and the film is just beautifully crafted. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bless you.
Donna, you need to put your email on the chat as well for people to contact you.
Okay, then I will do that, John.
And I know David's been working with you about the William Cooper thing that we're going to be part of in October, so we'll be in touch with people about that event as well.
Yes,
which will be wonderful. So I just want to ask Sheree, as she's with us tonight, since you've opened up this discussion with Indigenous groups, I was amazed that, who is it, Linda in the USA? A number of other Indigenous peoples across the world seem to relate to the same story. What's your take on how we educate people of the world to I'm trying to think of the right word, the Indigenous nature of the Jews to the land? Because that seems to be one of the most controversial subjects, particularly from Palestine and Arabs at the moment. How do we go about helping people understand this story?
Yes, well, they need to be educated, and so that's what we're trying to do with Indigenous Coalition. So we've got two websites. One is the Indigenous Coalition for Israel, where we've gathered quite a lot of material, articles that help to inform and educate you as the one trying to do the communicating. Also on Instagram and social media, you know, we're putting out a lot of content. There are other groups doing the same, like, you know, the Millers here, Barbara and Norman Miller, and there are other Indigenous groups doing this as well. So the key, of course, first is to get educated on understanding how Jews are Indigenous to the land. And it's not difficult to argue it at all because, you know, the history is there. It's just so obvious. 3,500 years or more of continuous connection in the land. Jewish people have never left the land. And so there's no denying the fact that if you look at the facts and the history, it's supported by archaeology, it's supported by literature. There's so much evidence to show of this Jewish connection to that particular land of Israel. That's one of the key parts of being Indigenous, is that you have this connection to the land. And I think one of the definitions I find really helpful is the notion that it's about the ethnogenesis of a people group within a particular land. So in other words, the land within which the Jewish people developed their unique culture, language, literature, practices was in that land, and connection to those ancestors in that land. And so if you think by comparison of New Zealand, for example, with Maori came here from the Pacific, from Polynesia, from different places, but in this particular land, we developed our unique culture, which is different from those Pacific nations. So we are Indigenous to this land. And so there's a bit of educating of oneself to really understand what it means to be Indigenous. And, I have come across Jewish people who struggle to see themselves as Indigenous because they see Indigenous peoples in a particular way. But if you look at what actually defines an Indigenous person, you will see that the Jews tick the boxes for being an Indigenous people group. So connection to land, connection to the ancestors in that land, these are some of the key elements of being Indigenous.
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick bypass question. Have you met and spent any time with Hugh Kitson, by the way, who's an apology for tonight? Hugh's our English Australian guest who's written and conducted with Whose Land Is It? The film series, etc. Have you had any contact with Hugh?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I'll introduce you.
Thank you.
I think it'd be a good match. Anybody else would like to ask a question or make a comment at this time before we close out for the evening?
John, may I ask?
Kathy? Donna?
Yes,
Donna, you go, and then
thank
Kathy.
you. Sheree, I just want to thank you for tonight, and what amazing. And I think it's so important that we all do our bit and work together and support each other. And I think it is very saddening for me because anti-Semitic never exists in mainland China or in the Chinese community. But however, after October 7th, things are changed. There are so much lies, false news. It just scares me to the point where I felt that, what we do is even more important because we reach out to people from there, and particularly in the film industries and in a young modern society, to the people that to know. And that's why we take teams from mainland China to Israel to let them know who is Jews and Israelis and who is Israel. So I just want to thank you. And I think that we all need to become friends and work together to support. I think this is very important. So I just want to say thank you to you.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And thank you for the amazing work that you're doing. That story was so inspiring. I'd never come across that one before. So it's so important to tell these stories, get them out there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you. And Kathy, you've got a question or a comment, and then we're going to close out, I hope, with a song that Stephen played for us earlier, which in my days was called "Blowing in the Wind." But it was just a beautiful song. But over to you, Kathy.
Yeah, two things. There is a recent book on Locke's life called Blue Ribbons Bitter Bread. I put it in the chat. It's on Audible. And secondly, Sheree, that little summary you gave of what it means to be the definition of an Indigenous person and or culture was so helpful. Is there some place where that definition is elaborated on? Is it on your website?
Yes, it is. It's in articles. I mean, I do have it on. I use that definition in presentations that I can actually just type it in here while we're talking.
That would be excellent, because we need succinct descriptors when people say all this stuff about colonisation and being colonisers.
Actually, what I can refer you to is on our Indigenous Embassy website. We've got a resource there, and it was given to, it's a PDF, and it explains indigeneity in a really simple way, and you're welcome to print it out. Mm-hmm. It's produced by the Allied Voices for Israel, which is a Canadian group that we met over there, and they've very generously allowed us to put it on our website, and you can print it out. So I'll just quickly get the link for that as well, so you can find it easily.
Excellent.
Wonderful. On that note, I'm going to, I don't know what's happened to Stephen, he's disappeared. So I'm going to share this song, and I'm going to invite you to either sing along with it quietly or to unmute yourself if you're my age and actually sing to the tune, which is one of the most beautiful songs I have heard in a long time. So here we go. And at the end of that, we'll then close out the meeting. Beautiful for all you oldies and all you youngies. Wonderful. Thank you, Sheree. Thank you, Donna. Thank you for all your participation and your support. We'll be in touch for next month. We've got lots of news, lots of happenings, lots of new things. So blessings to all and shalom. Good night.
Shalom, shalom. Good
Shalom,
night.
shalom.
Well done.
Shalom.
Good night.
Well done. I'm Israel.
I'm Israel.
Well done, Stephen.
Bye.